How are you, gents? It's SBG back here again on this Saturday morning. I neglected to mention a few points in the video I made about an hour ago in regard to the social credit score system that exists in China. One other reason why I think it will soon be introduced here in the West is because with many men moving to Asia, Southeast Asia, or spending a lot of time over there, those men are not or will not be paying income tax here. They are not spending in the stores. They're not paying the GST or the VAT. And at the moment, there is a big retail slump. Some people here are even calling it the retail apocalypse. A lot of high-end restaurants are going broke. The women's economy especially is really suffering, and I think that's great. For example, there is a big slump in the sale of engagement rings, wedding rings, maternity wear. As we know, Toys R Us went under, it's gone. So people are saving their money, especially men, to pay for essential items and services. Things like electricity, gas, and food, fuel, that sort of thing. So anyway, if more and more men leave, it's going to reduce the taxation revenue, the tax take. So that's another reason why Western governments would prefer if men stay here, because they're losing a lot of money. It's probably in the billions and billions of dollars by now. So that is a problem for these Western governments, most of whom are broke. Technically, they are insolvent. Another thing I forgot to say was that in 2010, I was working at a university in China in Guangxi province, and one of my students, Henry, a postgraduate student, had very good English. And at the time, I couldn't speak Chinese, so I used to speak to this guy quite a lot because I could communicate with him very well. And his parents were high-ranking members of the local Communist Party, and Henry was very anti-communist. He was did not like the Chinese system, and basically his parents, his family had disowned him, and they said to him, "Well, basically, if you don't like it here, just fuck off, and you got a passport, go and live somewhere else." So I asked Henry about what happens to dissenters in China these days. That was in 2010. I said, "Do they still get imprisoned, tortured?" And he said, "Yes, for the really hardcore dissidents, that still happens." But he said now they use more subtle means. This was back in 2010. For example, preventing people from being able to travel, restricting their movements, and preventing people from being able to borrow money, blacklisting them, preventing them from being able to seek employment. So that was back in 2010, and that's what I was talking about before. Restricting a person's freedom can be done, achieved in many subtle ways, and that's what I think is going to occur in Australia, the UK, Canada, these sort of countries. We're already seeing what's been happening in Hong Kong recently. The people over there are sticking up for their rights or trying to defend their freedom. I really admire what the young people are doing over there in HK. I think that Carrie Lam is just a dead duck in the water. She's a red herring because she says one thing in public and she says another thing behind closed doors to her masters, the goons, up in Beijing. So I feel in the future, if we're not careful, Australia could end up like China, Tibet, Xinjiang province in China. Our freedoms are slowly being eroded, and most people don't even notice. We think we have freedom and democracy and freedom of speech here, but in reality, we don't. It's only certain people who have freedom of speech in the West now. And the political correctness, the feminism, the gynocentrism, all the things we talk about and rail about within MGTOW, they're just going to multiply, become a lot worse. So I just forgot to mention these two things in the last video, so I thought I'd quickly make another vid. Once again, thanks for watching, listening. Hope you'll please subscribe and like the videos, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.